Be less petty with your time. Be less petty with your mind. Be less petty with your blame. All that petty shit is lame. Be less petty with your friends. Love first. Make amends. Be less petty with your life. Be less petty with your wife. Be less petty with your mom. Be less petty with your job. Be less petty. Be less petty. Be less petty, baby. Body aches, migraine, chronic illness, anger pains. All it comes from is being petty. Hey, I'm telling you now, you don't want to do it. Nope. Cause that petty shit will have you in ruin. Hey. Social media, yup, be less petty. This podcast is not a valid substitute for therapy. This is an open conversation. It is not medical advice and should not be used as such. Please seek help with a medical professional if you are in a crisis. Yo, what is up, my less petty pals? And welcome back to Be Less Petty Comedy Self-Help Podcast. I'm your girl, Kellye Howard, and tonight's show, y'all, is going to be off the chain. We have the hilarious Fatimah Taliah from True TV Laugh Tracks, which is now streaming on HBO, by the way. And fun fact, we both grew up in Harvey together, ventured off in the same industry. I went into acting, she went into modeling. Then a few years later, she pivoted into acting and stand-up comedy. And now we're both kind of doing the same thing, but a little different. She just recorded her first comedy album, Nice to Meet Me, which will start streaming September 21st. And when I say there is never a dull moment with Fatimah, there's literally never a dull moment with Fatimah. In tonight's episode, we'll be chatting about mental health, diagnosis, upbringing, and community, and how that shapes who we become both in life and career, as well as the infamous Impostor Syndrome. And if you don't know what that is, we'll be defining that later in the show. But basically, it means feeling as though you don't deserve your blessings. So without further ado, let's get the show started. But before I do, y'all know I got to bring in the cup to my coffee, the one who keeps us sane and holds down the fort, primary therapist, Alexandra Garcia. Hey, girl.
Hey, the cup to my coffee. I love that.
Did you?
That was cute.
I wrote that. I was like, oh, I like this little saying right here, cup to my coffee.
Yes.
Oh, which technically I'm darker, so maybe I'm the coffee. Well, I'm the coffee, right? So that was right.
I'm the cup.
Okay.
The cream to my coffee.
Cream to my coffee. Yeah, I like that too.
It works.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you on this Monday?
Ooh, girl. I have so much petty shit that didn't happen this week. It's insane. It's insane.
Ooh.
Like last night, I was doing a show at the Laugh Factory, doing too much, trying to edit a self-tape audition while also like watching the show in the back of the showroom, and then just moving and all fidgety, and broke my damn laptop. It fell off the table and cracked the screen.
I was wondering, I saw your story today. I was like, she just got a new laptop. Why is she taking it to Apple? There you go.
Just got a new laptop, like less than 2 months ago. Because remember, the first one got stolen.
Right.
Out of the car. Right. So now I'm using Mike's laptop for this show. And he was like, please don't get my laptop stolen or break it. That's what he said when he gave it to me. I'm like, don't
like a child.
Right? And plus with children, I hear you're not supposed to tell them what not to do, because they'll actually end up doing it.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that.
So it's been a wild ass week for me. Emotionally, I stopped smoking weed. Today was a weed need day.
Yeah.
It was a weed need day. But I got through it though.
Yeah. And how's the other stuff going?
Oh, so my micro dosing of shrooms.
Yes.
Is that what you're asking about?
Yes. I don't know if,
So probably in the chat, you are not aware that I started micro dosing shrooms since the last episode. Apparently, micro dosing shrooms helps with depression and anxiety, amongst a myriad of other things. All of this not scientifically proven, hippie proven. And so it's been all right. I can't necessarily say that I've noticed a huge difference. But I haven't been carrying like a lot of sadness. I will say that. So, but I think that also goes to my meditation and my writing and all the myriad of other things I do.
Yeah.
Too. The riding a bike, the yoga, blah, blah, blah. So yeah. But hey, if we can combat sadness in any way, I'm gonna keep on popping these little shrooms.
Right. Keep me posted. I'm interested to see how this progresses.
Have you had any petty things happen since the last time we've spoken?
You know what? I was thinking about it, and honestly, I didn't have a petty moment or time, but I did have something weigh very heavily on me that I've been thinking a lot about. But it's not petty, but it's really important to me. So I figured I'd talk about that.
Okay.
So Sunday, I met some people for like a happy hour drink, and they're all professionals in different sectors. And they were talking about their careers and the importance of being licensed. And I'm in a totally different career. So I was chiming in why it's important to be licensed. And there were a lot of Latinos there, right? But there were no Puerto Ricans. And they're in this professional organization. I was like, hey, do you guys have any like Puerto Rican members? And they were like, oh, I think there's one. And I'm like, okay. Right. And for me, and I love all Latinos and I want all of us to succeed. And specifically, right, I'm Puerto Rican. And I always am saddened when there are no Puerto Ricans at the table. And there's so many Puerto Ricans in Chicago. Like, it's not like we're in, I don't know, Alabama or something where maybe there's a smaller population, but they couldn't really name any Puerto Ricans in their organization. And, I think about even in my sorority, right? We were founded by 2 Puerto Rican women, but the majority of our Latino sisters are not. So we're always like barely kind of sprinkled in. I used to go to a lot of Hispanic pro like networking events, and they recently had an event. I'm looking at the pictures and we're just not there professionally. And I haven't looked at the numbers. I know back when I was in college, like the Puerto Rican graduation rate was really low. So I'm interested to see, but it's something that bothers me. And I start thinking like, what can I do? Where are we? Like, we need representation. And yeah, it makes me really like sad and upset.
So you've been kind of carrying that sadness since
the weekend. It's just like, it's like anger and sadness. Cause I'm like, it's half our fault. And then I know there's societal stuff and it's very complex, but yeah. That's what was going on for me, but no real petty moments. That was just, it's deep.
Girl, lucky you that you just over there thinking deep shit, because I've been over here petty as hell, crying, like dealing with all kinds of emotions. I told you last week, we talked on our kind of preliminary call to prep for this.
Yeah.
About the Mike Tyson audition that I did. So FYI in the chat, I did an audition to play Mike Tyson's mother. And let me tell you, when I read this script was so aggressively charged. Like every other line was motherfucker this, bitch this. And it was Mike Tyson's mom talking to 10-year-old Mike Tyson. Mm-hmm. And it like really made me sad. Like it started triggering back to my childhood, remembering like listening to this very similar words around me, so much so that I did this audition last Sunday, woke up Monday morning, sad as hell, like sad, all day sad, like couldn't even really deal with it. And then that was my first day of popping shrooms. So it made me hella emotional. So now I'm just sad and crying. I'm on our preliminary call trying to prep for this. And I'm just like, I just need your therapeutic advice right now.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's okay to be sad.
I mean, yeah, you were having a reaction to getting in that mindset, in that role. And yeah, you were triggered. You were triggered.
It was hard. It's just, I don't understand this. And I don't think we think about that as artists, how much this stuff affects us. Like, we're doing these auditions, we're becoming these people, right? And trying to embody, if I'm going to really play the role to the fullest extent, I almost have to become this woman.
Right.
And so I had to embody those emotions. And it was very difficult for me because I've spent the last 10 years of my life trying to be less petty, trying to not be that person, trying to go away from that kind of aggressive behavior. Not to say that Black women are aggressive or mad or anything like that, but it is something that I feel like we carry, and sometimes it's not necessary. In every moment, it's not necessary. And so I've been working really hard on trying to rid myself of that. So the fact that it was so emotionally charged for me, it was just hard. It was really, really difficult. It was.
Yeah. And I think I told you, like, in therapy, well, as a therapist, we have to pay attention to that all the time. We call it countertransference, right? So if I'm working with a person, right, we're all people, it doesn't matter the profession, folks will trigger you. So sometimes if I have like negative feelings or positive feelings about someone, we are taught to be aware of it and talk about it, right, with our colleagues and our supervisors, so we can work with it. But yeah, it's interesting, as artists, like you said, we don't pay attention to that, and it's important to.
Yeah. And then last night, my audition was a very similar audition, like where all of my auditions are like aggressive, angry Black women. And I'm like,
that's a whole other conversation.
And I'm like, all these other auditions that I do that are not like that, if I fuck around and book this angry Black woman, like, thank you, but I'm offended. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, why am I getting booked for this role?
Right.
But so I'm really excited though to move on. I don't want to keep talking about this petty energy around these auditions, because this shit can go on for the entire show. Seriously. Right. I want to make sure that we get enough time with Fatimah, because this girl is so fucking funny. I love her to death. As I said in the intro, we grew up together in Harvey. Like, she is one of the pettiest people I know. But in a fun way, though. She's not like mean petty. And that's what's so lovable about her, is that she's like hilarious petty. And so that is a huge factor to consider when you're thinking about a petty person, right? If they're funny petty, it's almost accepted. Versus if they mean petty, that's toxic energy. And you want to kind of sway away from that. This is not her. So Fatimah, I want y'all to make sure y'all check out her album too, that is coming out on September 21st. Nice to Meet Me. She is a really good friend with mine. I've slept on her couch plenty of times with her damn cat. Start doing the claps and the snaps and stuff in the chat right now for my homegirl, Fatimah Taliah.
Yes. Girl, keep it real. Tell them that I'm really petty.
You are petty. Not in a bad, like, you're not mean petty though.
No, we're gonna be honest. I was a mean girl.
I
will say, no. In the last 2-3 years, I had got my ass in real trouble. That's why I'm no longer that petty. I got it's in my album, 2018. I messed around and got arrested in LA.
What did you do?
They sent my little Black ass right on to anger management. Let's get into it, y'all.
All right.
What did you do?
So I'm not afraid to talk about it. I was like, no, tell them, girl, I was petty, bitch. I was out here. No, I got into, it's really silly. You know how you like going into a party and they have like a list, and it was a whole little list thing, and it was like a back and forth with me and the list person. And then security, instead of them just being like, what is going on? What happened? One of the security guards like grabbed me. And like your natural reaction to anyone grabbing you, you snatch away. And then when I snatched away from her, like all the other security guards were like, what's happening? So they like ran over, and then they all like started grabbing me. So then it was like a scuffle between me and her, but I was much smaller than her. So I don't think she knew that I had that Harvey go. And then it just got weird. And then they were like, oh shit. And then, so yeah. They arrested my little Black ass, and I had $3,000 bail. Wow. So luckily, I was dating the right white man at the time. Get my Black ass out. That's my homie now though, but he got me out. But bitch, it was the first time I think I was like slapped with what you grew up with and what you know from your world of South Side of Chicago. No, you too old for that shit now. You brought that all the way to LA. You can't be doing this.
You can't.
So that was my like full on life lesson though. Like I feel like that changed me like completely. Because after I had to go through like full court. Like I had to get a lawyer. Like I had to go to court like all the time, because it was like a fight with like considerably a police officer. So it was like I'm attacking the law.
Yeah.
So my bail was really high, and I had to get a lawyer. And they, I didn't have a record or anything like that. So they eventually was like, okay, I think she was just mad. So
she's had a bad day.
So they didn't really hit me with heavy, like it could have been worse, but they ended up giving me just anger management and community service. And so
is it still on your record?
It currently is, but I just finished paying all my court fees. It currently is, but it's not a felony like it was originally.
Oh shit! It was originally
it was a felony because I attacked an officer.
Damn.
Yes, child. It's all on my album, guys. But
check that out.
This happened, and so it was a good and bad experience for me. Going through that and having to go through the courts, and then going through anger management and realizing there were some things that were significantly petty as fuck. So you petty when you taking an anger test and you be like, fuck this test.
Right.
I was mad at the test, like y'all ain't gonna do this to me. Who wrote this?
Right.
But I learned a lot, and being in the room with other people and hearing their petty stories at their age was really like, it was it for me. So
do I want to be this person at 50?
Exactly. It was like older people in there. They were like, it's on my album. I don't want to tell the story, but there's this one lady in there, like, that really set it off for me. Like, hearing her story, I was like, bitch, like, you got to pull it together. Oh, bitch is not, she is not the tea. You cannot turn into her. But her petty story was at the highest of petty. Y'all will hear the story on the album. I don't want to give it away, but it was, when I heard it, I was like, that's some shit you would fucking do, bitch. You need to get your shit right.
Right.
But it was a learning experience. So
that's so interesting.
So petty, bitch. But I feel like now I'm at that point where now I feel like I need to be a little bit more petty. I'm too nice now.
I be feeling like that sometimes too. I do. I be like, people taking advantage of me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. I feel like now my essence is different, because after you take anger management, they really get you to see a whole nother light of responding. So now my response be real dead, but sometimes I'd be like, you might need to give her more so she don't try to hurt you. Like, I just be like, sitting there, because now they have us in this like count step. Like, if somebody triggers me now, immediately my mind just goes to the, will this matter in 5 minutes? Mm-hmm. I'm like trained to where now I'm like, okay, girl, you grab belongings and get out.
Will this matter in 5 minutes? So what are the steps that you have to go through in order to what are some of the things you had to?
For starters, they definitely start getting you to see your surroundings, who you hang out with, who triggered you, what things from your past you could possibly be dragging with you to where, just say, for example, if your mother had said something to you consistently as a kid, and then you run into somebody you barely know and they say something similar like that and you snap. You don't realize it's not even that deep. It's just you sick of that because that's been going on since 4th grade and you got to get over that. So it was a lot of little stuff like that we learned in there, to where you'd be like, oh, okay, I'm tripping. She probably didn't even mean it that way. You just, I think I had a lot of that. But our neighborhood was where I feel like we were triggered a lot.
Yeah. Harvey is a triggering place. It still is.
Yes. So
it never changed.
Never, girl. You could Google it and you'll be like, that store's still there. It give you nightmares.
And that's so interesting, because I feel like now tell me this, and this might be a little bit too much disclosure, but your first cousins with Selena.
Yeah.
Which, if you guys don't know who that is, Selena Johnson, you should know who that is. Right. Yes. She is amazing. Amazing R&B artist from Harvey, Illinois. Hey. But I feel like she's like super chill as far as she's like super composed.
I mean, well, I feel like she had that one thing on a reality show. Like, I feel like she's a little bit more like, you got to push her.
Okay.
I was definitely the cousin you would call if it was going down.
Okay. So she was the more chill cousin, and
I was definitely the one they'd be like, they said, I'm like putting on my hair wrap. Let's do it. I'm definitely more of that. I think age too. She's older than me.
That's true. I
think for me, as I get older,
yeah. You're like, I'll get there. Right now, I'm inching towards that spot.
And she has sisters too. I feel like if maybe somebody was picking on her, it's likely somebody gonna take care of that business for her. I'm the oldest, so I was like, I got to become a bully to survive. Like, this is the only way.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think I just had that mentality though. Like,
now you weren't a bully in high school. You weren't a bully growing up though.
I feel like verbally, I was definitely a roaster. You
well,
didn't
yeah.
walk past me in a lunchroom for the safe tip.
You were a roaster, but that's because you were going to become a comedian, and God knew that. So he had to start you early. You know what I mean?
But no, not like a physical bully. No, definitely not.
Yeah, see, I was a physical bully. Like, I started fights on purpose with people that I knew I could whoop their ass. Like, I was like, oh, she's smaller than me. I'm going to fuck her up on purpose for no reason. Bad girl club. It was so sad. It was sad. I remember I had a fight with this one girl. I remember her name was Abimbola. She was from Africa.
Bimbola is okay now.
It's not a name you fuck with, right? Abimbola
sounds like a disease.
You petty.
It sounds like something on your arm. You got one of them Bimbolas on you. You like, girl, that's what
oh my God.
Her name was Abimbola. That is a very popular name. Actually, you Google that. It's a very popular African name.
How do you spell that? No,
Abimbola. Abimbola.
You remember that one.
So, and that's why you can't forget a name. You can't forget a Bimbola name, right?
Born with a Bimbola.
And so, wait, I'm in 7th grade. I'm walking behind her. I remember this because I was trying to start a fight with her, but she didn't want to fight me. You know what I'm saying? She kept saying, she was like, I don't want to fight. And she was a big girl. I'm in 7th grade. I'm probably like, I'm 5'7" now. So I was probably like 5'5", maybe, you know, at the time, 100 pounds, 120 maybe at most. Right?
That's why she didn't want to fight you. She was like, what is going on? This don't make no sense.
Yeah, she was literally like 6 feet, probably about 200 pounds.
Girl.
Right. And I'm trying to prove myself, like I'm gonna whoop her ass. Y'all gonna see. And that's because she was very quiet. She was a very to herself kind of person. And that's what bullies do. Bullies focus on the people that are to themselves, right? The people that they think. Right. And so I'm talking mad shit. I'm like, I'm gonna whoop her ass. I got the whole school following us.
Wow.
I'm gonna whoop her ass, right? And I'm throwing rocks at her. I'm picking up rocks. I'm throwing rocks behind her, right? Trying to hit her with the rocks. She's just walking home. She's not paying no attention to me. She's just walking home. And so then I picked up a brick, right? And I was running towards her, about to hit her with this brick. And she snatched my hand, girl, and like literally whipped me around, like in one swoop.
And you was like, oh Lord, Jesus, what happened?
She didn't like whoop my ass. She just like contained me. You know what I'm saying? And just like pushed me down and was like, I'm not gonna fight you. And I was like, I don't want to fight you no more anyway. If this is a taste of what's gonna happen,
oh my God,
I can only imagine what's really gonna happen. It was intense, but
this is the normal streets of Harvey.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, we had moved. Well, my dad and them still lived in Harvey, but I had moved with my mom to Country Club Hills. So now I was
bringing it to the suburbs.
Yes, I was for real a bully too. Then I'm like, bitch, I'm from Harvey. All you weak ass Country Club Hills, like.
Oh my God! I lived in the suburbs of Country Club Hills, and there were kids like that showing up, being like, "Give me your backpack." You like, oh God, I just moved it.
Yes, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad, but and it led to Be Less Petty. So here we are.
There you go.
This is what happens. Life after being petty. You be like, look, I went to jail. I was trying to blow.
Yes.
Life together now. That's good.
It was very trifling behavior. It was unnecessary. But I also know that it was just that residual anger from my childhood, looking for attention, right? Yes. Looking to be loved, looking to be seen.
Looking to be seen. Oh, girl.
I still find myself looking to be seen. Like, I hate that. It's sometimes when I can tell when I'm on stage and I'm performing from my true alignment and I'm just having fun and enjoying the performance, or when I'm shucking and jiving. Like, I know the difference.
You know what? And a lot of that I've noticed for myself is mental when I do that. It's something that it's never anything out there with anyone else. It's like, what level did I tell myself I'm supposed to do on stage tonight? And then when I get up there and that's not happening, and I'm like, and it's like, I don't know, I've broken that habit because I'm really in this space of you are you. Just do that. And now those are usually the best nights, but I know what you mean. Like you have this shit in your head and then you go up there. That's something people don't know. This thing called stand-up comedy, you all by yourself. You all by yourself, whatever you're feeling, even if it's not a great, like you could be funny as hell, but if you're not having a great day or night, that shit could just be shucking and jabbing or whatever. It's weird, but
yeah. And like last night, my first show, I did 2 shows at the Laugh Factory. My first show wasn't that great. And I know why it wasn't that great, because I'm in the back, I'm editing this self-tape, right? And I'm trying to like do all this work, and I'm kind of like in this, and Mike woke me up. First of all, I'm not an early person. I had a show Saturday night. Mike wakes me up at like 8:00 in the morning. Like, so we're going to the museum today, right? And I'm like, fuck, let me do this thing. I can't keep like, I have to spend time with him too. Like I'm married, I have to do this, right? It's part of this, connection that we have. And so I'm like, I got to do this. So we go to breakfast, we go to the museum, and I'm really glad I did go to the museum. It was a great experience. I got to see the work of Bisa Butler. I don't know if you know who that is.
I don't, but I love art galleries.
But it was amazing. She does these stitchings, like these huge quilts, and she stitched like classic pictures
in the quilts.
Into the quilts. I'll post some pictures on my Instagram after this. But I mean, amazing. And so I got to see that, and it was a fun day, but I still had to meet with my coach right afterwards and do this 9-page audition, and then go do 2 shows at the Laugh Factory. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like editing this self-tape, and I'm like in this whole other world. And then another comedian gets on stage, and she rips, right? She fucking kills it. Now I'm in my head about, I gotta be either as funny or funnier than her, because I'm the headliner of the show tonight.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so now I'm like trying to edit this, but also thinking about that. And I instantly, when I got on stage, and even though I'm trying to tell myself that it's not a comparison type of thing.
Right.
But when you're quote unquote the headliner,
exactly,
you're supposed to be the funniest one of the show, right? And so I get on stage, and I'm up there shucking and jiving, right? Because I felt it. I felt it as soon as I got up there, like, look at me, laugh at me, look at me, laugh at me. And it was not going the way that I wanted it to go at all. I felt it. And because of that, I even said before I got off stage, I was like, these jokes are a lot funnier with better audience members, right? So I said that, petty as hell, like, because I was in the space. I get off stage, and then I go back to editing, or attempting to edit. And because I'm already energetically off, I'm moving too fast. And that's when I knock my laptop off the table and crack my screen of my laptop. So thankfully I was able to get my editing done, but I cracked my screen. And then now I have another show to go and do after this. The same night. I was on a 9:00 show. This was a 7:00 show. So I'm in between shows right now. And I'm second up on the 9:00 show. So the 9:00 show comes around, couple things. One, I got something to prove now, because the last show was trash. Second, I just broke my laptop. So I got all of this energy in me that I need to get off my chest, which of course the second show was off the chain. I fucking kill it. But then we go back to that thing that we were talking about, Alex, last week with Tiffany, where we create these scenarios, this drama in our life in order to be funny. And so, of course, it was a lot easier for me to be funny because I was energetically charged.
Right.
Which fucking sucks, because now I wake up this morning like I don't want to create from that space.
Right. Like I always want to go to that.
Yeah, it's a toxic space to create from, right? It's like, how can we create from a place of love and kindness for ourselves, right? Just for the love of the art versus like, I'm up here and driving.
I feel like the whole part of being less petty for me has helped me better on stage, competitive wise. I think I've also learned like how to really handle my ego in a very, very very good way. Like I think that has been my biggest strength in the last couple of years, and I think that's why I was able to even do now, because I feel like that challenge right there was hard. Like I feel like even if I wanted to do an hour again, I would go a completely different route. Like this is some serious shit. Like it's a whole lot of work, a whole lot of writing, and I did a half hour. I was like, whoo, child, that's work. But putting my ego away has really helped me with being on stage, because there's so many comedians, and nowadays there's so much different types of comedy.
It
So
is.
there isn't any way of being like, oh, she's funnier, or there isn't, because there's like all these different things going on, especially in LA. You're like, what are they doing? And people are into it. So it's like, you got to just really have your ego in check to be like, this is what I do. This is how I feel today. And this is how I feel right now. And just do that. And sometimes, like, I don't always get this huge response, like maybe someone might have gotten after me or before me, but I'm still content with that because I'm content with where my ego is. Like,
Yeah.
as soon as I got my ego under control, things changed tremendously within and all around me. So that's what
your anger management working. I see you, girl. I see the growth, because this is not what I stayed with last time I was in LA.
Oh no, man. No. So different now. I feel like, it's the grounding of it too. Living in LA, doing stand-up, it's a completely different world. Like, I feel like you guys have it amazing. When I come to Chicago, DC, New York, I'm like, they got hella mics. They can go to hella shows. LA is such a showcase city.
Yeah.
We don't really have a lot of stage time to grow, to be great, or to learn in these things. Like, half of the comedians out here, they ain't got time to mentor your ass. They on 16 TV shows and they got whatever else they got going on. You got to figure this shit out on your own in LA. And you got to, the competition is real. Like, even trying to get on these stages out here. I was just talking to somebody recently. Somebody was like, damn, you really moving up the ladder. I'm like, am I, nigga? Like, you know how many times I got to graduate to get on the Comedy Store stage? They have so many different, like, graduation thing. Like, you got to pass this test and this test. It's not.
You're not getting paid for really any of that shit. Y'all getting like $10.
I was just going to get to that next. Like, you're also not really getting any bread for this. Like, they're paying you $10 to $15, maybe $25, just to be like, oh, I was on stage with D-Ray. And like, you really doing it for the gram. Like, you don't start really understanding comedy and or making money until you leave out of here. I didn't start really understanding great comedians too until I went to like Houston and Atlanta and New York. And you're like, oh, these people take this shit seriously. This ain't about getting on TV. This is about telling
crafting the joke, crafting the joke. Yeah.
And their egos are intact. They ain't out here trying to compete with each other. They like, I'm John and that's Tim. And they get that. In LA, I feel like you can get caught up very easily here, which I feel like I did in the first couple of years. Ego was all over the place because you're competing with your friends. You're trying to outdo stage time. You're trying to be like, I was doing this show with this person, or I was on this stage. And it's like, after a while, you realize it's like, this shit's empty. We just taking pictures for the gram. Right. Not real. Like, well, we're not really, competing with each other. So it's like, once you learn the internal stuff, all this shit out here is not even that serious. Like,
I think with that, like, learning the internal stuff, like, and, I'm wondering what both of you do if you're not multitasking before a show. Like, Kellye, you were doing like 10 different things before the show. And I wonder sometimes if it's not helpful to watch the person before you, like, especially when you're having that energy. Like,
I typically don't. I just was sitting right there editing.
Yeah. And you're someone who practices like meditation all the time. Like, what the difference of the energy and the performance would have been if you would have left to do a meditation, and clearly you had too much going on. Yeah. But like, for both of you, like, when you're really in like your space and it feels good, what do you do before a show? Or what do you do?
For me, I feel like what Kellye's talking about, this is the life we chose. We wanted this. We wanted to be in demand where we are self-taping and 2 and 3 shows, because I'm at that point now too, and sometimes I have to check myself when I'm like freaking out and I'm like, I can't do it. You like, bitch, is what you asked for.
Yeah, that's what you asked for.
So you can't be whining. But I've learned now to, like, even if I don't have the time to get out of there and meditate, it's a quick collecting myself and taking a deep breath and be like, you got here for a reason. Yeah, you work this hard to be here for a reason. Now go do that. Right. And then I'll let myself go. Like, I mean, it's the same thing you do in live auditions. When they like, all right, you ready? You turn around and you be ready when you're ready. Like, I'm learning how to control my environment, not let the environment control me, So that's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very similar. Like, for me, a lot of the work comes before I even get to the comedy club. You know what I'm saying? It's just like really aligning my thoughts, telling myself what jokes I want to work on, what I'm focusing on, and trying to make sure that I'm cognizant of not, like you said, being moved by the environment, walking in, seeing a certain comedian on stage talking about a topic I'm going to explore. that night or something like that, and then being torn between whether or not I should still explore that topic. You know, the reality is, you know, my perspective on any topic is going to always be my perspective on that topic. And so by understanding that, and this has just come from 15 years of doing fucking stand-up. I've been doing stand-up for 15 years now.
Yes.
It's like you get to a point where you just like, there's nobody that can talk about, you know, weed and their children the way I talk about weed and my children. This is my way of exploring this. But the meditation and all of that does help to center myself. I always take deep breaths before I walk onto a stage. Like when I know they're about to call me up, I take like 2 or 3 deep breaths and I just say, I'm going to have fun. Like that's what I'm here to do. I'm going to have fun. And like Fatimah was saying, this is what I asked for. And that is important to remind myself of that, because most weekends, like probably 90% of my weekends now are me meeting with my coach, having to do something with Mike in private, or something with something with family and friends, meeting with my coach, learning lines from multiple different scripts, right? And performing and doing show and prepping for a Monday podcast. Like this is what's happening. And so I actually just got my numerology reading for my coming birthday, because, you know, my birthday is September 29th and I get them every year. And he was saying in the reading, he was like, Kellye, you must find a place of calmness and peace in your life now. Like you must find that now, because you're about to start. He said, you're about to start moving really, really fast. He said, and when you do, you don't want to get caught up in, oh my God, what the fuck, and start tripping out, because that's counterproductive to quote unquote what it is we've asked for. If I want this success, I have to understand how to maneuver through it in a calm and peaceful way, else it's not worth it.
Right.
And so, yeah, I'm just learning that. And I'm reminding myself that I'm learning that because it's new.
It shocks the hell out of me that you have kids. Sometimes I forget. No, I'm serious.
Sometimes I forget.
I literally know half of the stuff that I'm doing, and this business is a lot in general. To be a mom on top of that, and then I saw you with the trainer. I said, this bitch is wearing an invisible cape. So that's out to you that you're able to be a great mother and a wife and still manage all of this, because this is a lot of work in itself. So, girl,
right?
I don't know if I'm gonna go with the word great, but I am trying.
They still alive.
I can.
They still alive, so they get.
They are still alive. They're still alive. You know what? But that is a perfect segue, kind of into what the imposter syndrome. This idea that, you know, the things that are coming, the things that are happening, the things that are too soon. But okay, it's
that's perfect. Bring it back up.
The things that are happening, the things that are coming my way, that I either don't deserve it or I'm not validated in being able to speak on this or be this or be in this position, right? And so that's interesting. And actually, can we put that back up? What an imposter syndrome, for the people that's in the chat that don't know what that is. Fatimah, you mind reading what imposter syndrome is, please?
Persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts of skills, feeling like a fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling like a fraud. That last sentence right there is the one for me. Feeling like a fraud. There's been so many times that I've been in situations, and whether it's a conversation where I'm trying to, you know, encourage someone to live a less petty life, right? Or, and then I'll think to myself, who am I? Who am I to give this person this kind of advice? Who am I to tell them, you know, illness is not, you know, you can get through it by doing this. And it's lived experiences. Like I'm starting to realize that my lived experiences is what validates me to be able to say this. You know what I'm saying? But it's hard. It's very difficult. Like, do you find yourself dealing with imposter syndrome sometime?
You know, I used to. Because I would be like, I'm always trying to, like in LA, I've had so many roommates that are like, oh, I just moved here and I want to be an actor or I want to be whatever. And then like, I'm a helper. I'm always like, oh, great. This is what you should do. This is what I did. And I'm like trying to lend But then I would have these like self-esteem things where I'm like, well, who am I to tell her what she's doing? I'm not even where I want to be in my career yet. I would start thinking that, and I'd be like, well, who am I to like help her? Like, dude, you can't help nobody. You still need help. You know, I would come back to that, but now I'm learning like, but you've been in LA for 10 years, and this is a really hard place to stay and live. So what you are telling her is not just how to be an actor. You're telling her how to freaking survive.
Right.
In LA.
Yes, you're giving her that. But I would have that thought, like, you shouldn't be telling her that. You don't got your life together. But yeah.
From a clinical perspective, Alex, how do you find yourself coming across that imposter syndrome? A lot of your clients, maybe even yourself?
I mean, when you asked me to be a co-host, I'm like, wow, this is like, there's folks that have been doing therapy for 50 years, 25 years, you know?
And they old, and I don't want
my young self. And they old. I don't want these
I think that was the first thing I felt initially, instead of being like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that such a talented artist would even think of me. The first place is like, am I qualified enough? And I had to hold that for a second. So I think it happens all the time because I work with so many different clinicians from different like educational backgrounds. Like there's so many different I'm a master's level clinician. I work with psychiatrists who are doctors. I work with PhDs. I work with like a vast majority of mental health professionals. And sometimes people find their kind of confidence in all the letters behind their name. Some people, and you can tell who those people are, or people ask, you know, if you're a doctor. It comes up all the time. But you know what? I remind myself like, man, I help people every day through the hardest things. Like I got this. So I can be in the room with people of a vast variety of like backgrounds. But yeah, it comes up all the time. So it's very, very interesting.
How many of your clients actually bring that up as something? Because I know every therapist I've went to, I was like, I feel like a fraud. That's just like the first thing to come out my mouth.
You know what? I feel like I work with a lot of people that are having identity crisis. Like they don't even know who they are as a person. So yeah, I think they feel like a fraud, or they feel very bad that, you know, maybe financially or their career is going really well, but I'm really happy. I'm unhappy internally. So like, where is this? So I don't think I've ever had a patient to use the word that like imposter syndrome or feeling like a fraud. But if I put all the pieces together, yes, I have worked with people that have been struggling with stuff like this.
Yeah. And I think the identity issue comes from being raised a certain way and having the exposure, right? Because we have a lot of exposure now. The internet has exposed us to so many things outside of our little bubbles that we were like when we were raised in Harvey, all we had was Harvey at the time. We didn't have computers. I mean, we did have computers, but we played things like Froggy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's always right. It was nothing to show us that life can be this.
Yeah.
And so when you see that, when you realize, and then you're asking yourself, well, I come from this. So how can I be that? How do I get there? What about me do I need to change? What's wrong with me? Why am I not enough to be that? Right. And then there's all of these questions of feeling unworthy or not validated. And then if you're looking around you, right, and you got these same people that you grew up with that are leading the same lives you currently don't want to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you, and I think too, if we were to like Fatimah, for example, you moved to LA, you moved to a bunch of different places actually, which has probably morphed you into who you've become. And do you only date?
She been waiting to ask you this.
White guys?
Do you only date white guys or do
No.
Okay. I've only seen you in the later years.
I know. You know what? I think it's because I end up being with them for a long time.
Okay.
Like I only dated 2 white guys in my whole life. It's so weird, but I was with them the longest.
Okay. So
it just looked as if, but no, I just got through dating a guy and everybody was like, you won't never date black men. I was like, I do. That's how every time I was out with this one black man, everybody was like, dang, you back. I was like,
you back.
Like, I was like, when did I leave?
Right.
No, I don't. I don't know. Was there a question in there? I'm sorry. No,
I said, do you?
Oh,
well,
no,
I was asking about your multiple experiences.
I would prefer my man or my husband to be a black man, to be honest, because I think now, as I've grown up, I could, nothing against white men. The cultural difference is really difficult. And I've dealt with it so many times that I'm like, child, I don't have no more history books in my back pocket. Right. Go through. I can't. Mm-hmm. I just rather, I don't know. I don't want to knock love out of anywhere for me, because I mean, it can come in any color, but just be educational. Just don't. The last two I had, child, it was like, no, this is a cat. Like, it's not.
And do you find, and that's interesting, because do you find that in ways being with a white man or somebody outside of your race sometimes makes you, I don't want to say question, but kind of like your own identity? It kind of causes some, I don't know the word I'm looking for, some energy around it. Like it just doesn't.
It helped. Okay, I'll say this. It helped me understand family better in a positive way. In a positive way, the way my family, we were pretty dysfunctional. Let's just keep it gangster. And all the white guys that I dated, they would have this really like family-oriented life, even if it was a bad time. Like, like families would be like, such a crackhead, he can't come over. Like, and you'll never see him again. But white families would be like, such is a crackhead, but it's dinner time. So they just had a different family life. And I think that helped me build a much better family lifestyle with my immediate family, my brother and my mom and I think me experiencing dinners and making birthdays a big deal and like doing stuff in a bigger family oriented way, I learned from them. Financially, I learned from them. I mean, they bananas. They're just as bananas as we are, probably worse. There's probably a body in the basement for sure. But the house is paid for, bitch. Okay, so
it don't matter because ain't nobody coming to for it.
Bethany is in the basement and she's been there for years, but this shit is paid for. Okay, but no, I just feel like the cultural difference now, after everything that's gone on in our country, you really do. If you are going to date out your race, y'all need to be in a clear understanding.
Yeah,
clearly. And I feel like the two that I was with weren't ready yet. They hadn't done enough research on what it would be like to be with a black woman. They were looking at the surface.
Right. Yeah.
So not counting them out, but now I'm about to have like, so who killed Biggie at 5:46 in the morning? Because if you don't know what happened to Biggie at 5:46 in the morning,
you don't know. We can't be together.
Right. You got to know what happened in that one song.
That's so interesting. I feel like it's definitely, I don't know. I've never dated a white guy. I've never dated, but I have dated other POCs, like Latino and Asian, obviously, right?
Right.
Dated and married. But I did find
I'm ready. Find me husband.
Find me husband. You know what, girl? Marriage is something else. It's beautiful, but it's not as easy as people try to make. It's a lot. It's a lot of compromise and learning to bring your worlds together.
It's a team effort.
Yeah, it's a team effort, exactly. But what I noticed early on, and I don't know if this is considered, and it might be imposter syndrome, right? It might have a little bit of that in it. But like when I first started dating Mike, or not really dating Mike, I was kind of always myself when I first started dating Mike. Mm-hmm. But when I would be around his parents, I felt like they were like, I'm like, and you know the stereotypes of the Asians in this country and all of that. So I'm like, they really smart and they know a lot more than me, and I have to pretend to be something more. So I would either be really quiet and wouldn't talk about anything, right? I would just kind of the conversations, or I would always move almost narcissistically move the conversation in a direction where I'm the focal point and it's something that I'm validated in, something that I have proof. I could talk about this subject because I know about it. And that was hard for me for like, probably more than half of our together time. Like I just started being myself when I've gotten older and started meditating and was like, this is just what you're gonna get. Is this. Right. You know what I mean? Like I can't be no more than this.
I mean, I think I learned later on that was really much of my personality, always narcissistically controlling the conversation into me and not being fully aware of that. I think during my, like when I was with Roy, my engagement, like I don't want to say either party was bad, but if I can say something that was wrong with my ass, I was definitely, it's all about me, bitch.
Yeah, he wasn't engaged. You was engaged. He was just there.
So I mean, if I could go back and change anything, I'm like, I was definitely a narcissistic person of leading conversations in that way. Whereas now, since I'm aware of that, you see it more. Like when people do it to me now, I'm always like, oh my God, you were that child. Oh, I'm over you. Like, like, you know, you go through that when you're starting to change. You go through a year being like, I can't deal with you. Like I was over me. I was ready to throw me out of my own house. But I would do that. I would do exactly what you were saying. Like, you know, you go into it nervous and you're not sure, is it okay to be you? So you're like, what do I know best? Talking about me. Okay, everybody, you know, and that's not even like a real human thing. You're just painting a wall of a picture, which you want them to think, because that's comfortable to you. Whereas just being regular and being you scared of her. So yeah.
Oh, is that a Harvey thing?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
That people, no, I listen, living in LA, you see all the mental health stuff here.
All of it
on the daily. And I'm lucky enough to move here at like in my 30s. So I wasn't like completely like dingy to where I be, but I've seen so much here. There is not only like identity crisis, which I thought imposter syndrome was something else. I thought it was people that pretend to be somebody.
Like, Rachel Dolezal, you know, I was
like, that's LA. Because everybody out here being like, I'm a doctor. And you'd be like, well, let me see your license. They're like, well,
no, you're not.
But that's what I thought it was. But here it's all of that. You narcissistic, imposter syndrome. You got people out here that's carrying all the baggage from their childhood. Half of them don't even really want to be actors or comedians. They just want attention. They just want people to be like, look at them. That's dope. Like I know so many people that moved here based off of everybody in their hometown said they wasn't shit. So they thought when I go to LA, no matter how I get on and I become a star, then everybody in my hometown is gonna think I'm great. They don't know why they're there, why they're doing this. They don't understand the work ethic, none of that. It's swarming with people. Like, you don't know how many comedians I meet on a regular to just be like, this is my first time. And I'd be like, oh, okay. Because I'm like, they have no idea the work that it takes to do this. And they'd be like, oh, this is my first time. I'm like, okay, cool. And then you'll never see them again because they just want to get on stage to be seen.
Yeah.
As soon as they get that fixed, they like, all right, what else can I do to get attention? Like, this ain't really the goal. So
now, were you going to say something, Alex?
Yeah, no, I think being seen, right? Wanting to be seen by others, but like, how do we be seen by ourselves? Ooh. And that's the, you know, that's the difference. And I think in therapy, it's interesting. Like, you have to get really comfortable with silence, right? And I remember Dr. Tovar Murray, a Black man at DePaul, awesome professor and very, very weird at the same time. In our counseling skills class, so you had to practice with your peers, right? Like, Kellye, I'm going to be the therapist, you're the patient. And then we would have to record ourselves. But he was like, you cannot ask your patient a question. And I'm like, what? How am I going to have a conversation if I can't ask a question? And he's like, why do you want to ask the question? Is it for you or is it for the patient? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it was for me. So you just get comfortable. You have to, like, you're really, really uncomfortable with yourself and unsure of yourself, right? And then the first time you're sitting in a room with another person, you're like, holy shit, I know nothing. But you can tell when clinicians are like unsure of themselves and not confident because we have to be comfortable with silence. So when there's silence in the room, I embrace it. It is not my job to fill the space, right?
Did you guys see that last episode of Dave?
No.
Oh, you guys got to admit, this is like, so not to cut you off, but it was literally what you just said about, they were saying something to him about him being an artist and checking his ego. And they were saying to him, like, you're not comfortable with silence for longer than 10 seconds. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, a lot of people have that issue to where you're in a room with someone. And if you don't say something first, you feel uncomfortable. It's not that the room is uncomfortable. You feel uncomfortable. So you felt like you had to say some shit. Yeah. And I was like, that's crazy. I feel like I've had that issue.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. But it even reminds me of when you were both talking about being on stage, right? And feeling like you just have to fill it, right? But that's coming from a place of insecurity. And it's like, just like slowing ourselves down to see ourselves like, okay, I'm noticing that, it's really quiet right now. And I'm not going to like act on the urge to fill the space. And yeah, I'm talking about therapy right now, but I think we can relate that to both of you being on stage.
Oh no, it does work actually on stage, because that's when I know I'm more aligned with what I'm doing. 15 years doing this shit, I understand that silence on stage is golden. You know what I mean? And a lot of comics don't understand that. Like those moments where you're not saying shit and you're just letting the energy fill the space, that can create the biggest fucking laughter. And I've seen it do it time and time and time again. So when I'm shucking and jiving, it's usually I'm trying to fill the space.
Right.
I'm trying to fill the space with something so that you don't think I'm not enough.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with that. Silence is golden. And I read something too. I can't remember. I read so much self-help. It's ridiculous. But I read something where she was saying, like, they were talking about the people that you are the quietest around, like your mate. You spend a lot of time in the space with the people that you love the most, not saying anything. You know what I'm saying?
That's how comfortable you are, though.
That's how comfortable. It's a comfort thing. It's not like I have to fill the space with my husband in every moment. We got to be talking all the time. It's like, no, we can just be here and not say shit.
I mean, I think I heard you say this years ago. This was before I was doing stand-up, I think, because I used to run around with Kellye all the time, and she was here and she was doing stuff. I remember you saying like stand-up was growing within. I think I remember you saying, because you've been doing this self-help stuff forever, meditating way before I was even thinking about it. But I remember you saying that, and now I face that a lot. I think of like your little voice be in my head, like stand-up is growth, because it is. I feel like the more that we learn about ourselves and get comfortable with ourselves, the better our sets are. And I think like sometimes I'll look at old stuff in me and I'll be like, why are they laughing? This bitch.
What the fuck was that?
Who is this? You be like, bitch, you a goofy. Like, what is that?
Yes.
But it's the process of me growing as a woman. And the more that I grow as a woman, my comedy changes.
It does.
Like, the more confident I get as I get older, the more confident my set's going to be.
Yeah, I literally wanted to burn down YouTube headquarters when I saw some of my old sets. I was like, get this shit offline. This is trash. Who is watching it? It was so bad.
Stuff and be like, well, why though?
It was so bad. It was so bad. But, like you say, we grow. And I look back at like Kevin Hart old sets and Tiffany Haddish old sets and stuff like that. And you see the growth, right? Everybody has that kind of, they kind of get it together and they figure it out. And then me and Mike was just talking about this last night because we was watching Denzel in Fences, right?
Oh my God.
And we're like, look at him in Fences. But then look at him in Training Day, and look at him in where he played the big drug dealer, American Gangster. Denzel, low key, was his same exact self in all those movies. He was not different. The character was a little different, but the Denzel, we all know and love, was Denzel.
Yeah.
And it's because he's so secure with who Denzel is. You know what I mean? And that is such a beautiful thing. And I'm like, that's what every actor, that's what every person in the world wants.
Yeah.
But for sure, as actors and actresses and entertainers, that's what we crave. We crave to be able to be authentically ourselves.
Yeah.
And not have
to. You saying earlier, which was really cool. You said you were going out for that role for Mike Tyson, and you were saying how the role made you feel. That's you already there, boo. If you already connecting like that, that's the start.
That's true.
Really but that was, what was sad about that
too. Now, like I would have, like I felt like that was amazing. Hear you saying that. I like you're in tune now. Now you're connecting with each individual script you get. It's not even just words no more. You like these are people.
Yeah, it was in tune
like that.
But it triggered a lot of childhood shit that I was not ready to deal with. I was like,
that's scary, but that's a part of the job. Don't get Heath Ledger. What is it? Heath Ledger?
Oh yeah.
Because some of the roles can be really, once you really get into it, like you were saying earlier, you gotta be her. If you tap in, that's tapping in.
I think
yeah, I'll be happy, but is this me? I was down back in the backstage. Like, I'll be happy to book it, but what you trying to say? Like, a dad.
Right. Like, I'm offended that you picked me for the role when my audition was fuck all you motherfuckers. And that was your audition.
Like,
I get picked off that.
Oh my God. Well, you already know how they do us. Cookie Lion.
Oh God.
They have a million roles.
And then Mike gonna say, you say motherfucker so easy. It's just so casual. It's just so easy.
Grew up on a lot of those.
I'm like, nigga, that is not a compliment.
That's not, but that's how Black moms talk. I grew up on a lot of sit your ass down. Like, you don't know nothing else. You go to school.
What was you gonna say, Alex?
Sit your ass down. They're like, where you learn that? Oh,
no, I think, we were on that call last week. Mm-hmm. And you were very emotional, right? Like, and I do agree. I think you were really like connected to the role, and it shows like your growth and your progression as an artist, but it also triggered very real childhood stuff for you. And I think like the word triggered is often used like in passing every day now. It's in a lot of songs. But I think the example of what happened to you last week is like the true meaning of being triggered. Like something in the present is reminding us and is like tapping at something from our past. And it's bringing up an emotional response or behavioral response, right? Sometimes thinking about the security guard, right, at the list, right? And you got angry, right? You were triggered and it brought up this emotional response. And it's, right, like, what do we do with that? And I think even like when we start doing therapy, right, for anybody who hasn't done therapy or is just starting, like that, it often gets harder before it gets better, right? Because you're like bringing up all this stuff and now I got to work with all this stuff. So just thinking about like how that happens to us all the time and then like working with it in therapy, like, therapy is hard and it often can be kind of worse before it gets better, but it's all worth it in the end.
Yeah.
Moving back on the South Side has brought up a lot of triggers for me. Like,
are y'all back on the South Side?
Girl, we moved from. We need to go.
You said you're staying.
I don't know if I can do it. With Trader Joe so much. I look. Here's the thing. Okay. No. The traffic, the driving gets suicidal once you pass 35th Street. Like. It's insane how the people drive and every other car, even the cars parked around here are banged up. Like every other car has been in some type of accident or it's just a lot of, and I don't want to say the entire community is that way, but it's a lot of carelessness. And I have to ask myself, am I willing to sacrifice my mental health for said carelessness? And I've worked so hard to get to this place in my mental health. So it's a very difficult decision for me right now that I'm reevaluating because it's scary.
Yeah.
It's very scary.
It is super scary, and mental health to me is so important. I feel like the work to get to a stable place is a lot. So anything that triggers me to feel like I'm going to go backwards, I'm real quick to be like,
no.
Whether it's a person, a place. Anything. I just know the work to be mentally in the place that you want to be. It's just so much work. I can't allow something small to set me back. So I understand where you're coming from. You have to move.
And it's like, why do I even need to? Because of this idea that if I move, like, and for a while I was having like, especially after the conversation with Tiffany last week, she was like, girl, you better go down there and speak to them neighbors. You better woo. We in completely different places in our life. That might work for her. You know what I mean? But I'm like really thinking about like me, and I'm looking around and I'm seeing just the energy of my space. And I'm like, and two, she grew up in that neighborhood. Yeah, so it's a little different. If we were talking about Harvey and I never moved from Harvey.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'd probably be able to justify supporting the space a little bit long, but there's really no reason aside from,
How long have you guys been there?
Since the beginning of the pandemic. We signed in February of 2020. Okay. So it's just really hard. And I don't think anybody should, if you feel like your mental health is sacrificed.
Yeah.
I think it's a real consideration. You should really sit back and ask yourself, how much is it worth it? Because we don't realize how detrimental it is until it's too late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then what? Especially, I saw that little girl, and this is completely a little sidetracking, but I posted something on my story today about that little 7-year-old girl that got killed. You know what I mean?
And it's just so crazy because she was on the northwest, and it's unfortunate, right? But sometimes we think of just like pockets of the city being worse than others, but she was on the northwest side of the city, if I'm correct.
Yeah, she was on the northwest side.
Supposed to be a little bit better, quote unquote.
Chicago is always
everywhere.
It's insane. It really is. And I often ask, like, why the fuck do people that live in Chicago that don't need to live here, not to shit on my city, I love my city, but if you don't need to live here, then why do you? Because in certain neighborhood, it really is risky.
I've been seeing it.
It's truly risky
and everything, and I'm like, they couldn't wait to get outside after the pandemic. Like, I feel like kids are getting killed, like multiple of them, like every weekend. I'm like, Chicago is just too much.
I hope I don't have no people on here that's gonna be like, well, I was gonna sponsor you, but you hate Chicago, so.
No, Chicago is a beautiful place. I mean, I tell people this all the time. Like, I honestly love my city, but I will not visit y'all during the winter. That's just that. I mean, love y'all to death, but I ain't gonna visit
you. And you don't visit us in the winter because it's too cold, but you risk dying in the summer, motherfucker. So you don't visit us at all then.
You come and get shot in the back, baby.
We see you via Twitch.
Right. But Chicago is a beautiful city. They do need to chill out on the crime, though.
It really is. And I think, it's so sad because I think most of it is political. You know what I mean? It has more to do with the political aspects of it. And I don't know enough about it to give any real true opinion to be like, well, if we did this, then this will be, I don't know enough, but I do feel like a lot of it is political because I see the police presence in certain areas, but I don't see it in other areas. And that is a political statement. You know what I'm saying? And so that's that. We can talk about that forever. That's a whole nother podcast. In fact, next week when I have, Ida Rodriguez on, we're going to be, not next week, but the week after next, when I have her on the show, we're going to be talking about like marginalization and policies and stuff like that, because that's her focus point. Like she focuses on that kind of stuff. Yeah. Why these communities don't support certain policies to support the people within those communities. You know what I mean? And that's hard. It's really difficult. Crazy. And I'm a comedian, so I really don't give a fuck enough.
I know.
To make change. Like I personally don't. So I'm like, I could just move.
Yeah, you like I could just leave.
That's a change I can make.
Is it bad over there?
Huh?
Is it bad over there? Or
where I live?
Yeah.
There's helicopters every night.
That's every day in LA?
Yeah.
You got the Citizens app?
Yes. Citizens app.
That should have had your ass like, I got
you know
to
what? I've told you that
app
before. I do not think that that's helpful. I had a patient who was so hypervigilant and anxious, and this patient lived like toward downtown Chicago, which is there's a lot going on, but again, from a safety perspective, is probably a little safer than other parts. But I really had to have a long conversation about her deleting the app because just was so hyper vigilant all the time and so anxious. And if you look for stuff, you're gonna find it. You're always gonna find it. Crazy. If you're looking for it.
Yep. I know that from ex-boyfriends. If you look, it's gonna be there.
Look, I've never seen anything where the regular citizens can post the news. Like there'll be a car accident and people will just get out of their car and be like, they flipped over. I don't know.
And they posting that on the Citizen. Right. You're not even helping. You just want to be the first one to post it on Citizen.
You're like, I'll be on there telling hella jokes.
Like, that is not helpful. It's not helpful.
I get fans on Citizen's app because they be like, woman is caught getting robbed. I'm like, is it a crackhead? This is Hollywood.
I was so mad. I was so mad when Mike got that app because Mike is kind of like that too. He's a little paranoid and oh my God, every other night he like, looking at, and I'm like, you gotta
delete it.
You gotta stop looking at this app. This app gonna make us feel like we in Iraq, like it's a war zone. Yes, I was like,
it's a whole war zone, bitch.
Whole war zone.
You had the nerve to have a helicopter on it, moving.
My God,
it's next level.
It's scary.
I know. I'll be like, I'm not even going out my apartment. It's not good out there.
This has been a very fun conversation. Like I've had so much fun chatting with you. I actually do this little thing at the end or nearing the end where I ask questions. We were considering switching this to the beginning to kind of give the
I forgot about that.
guest a little bit more just to loosen you up a little bit more. But I think I know you enough where you about as loose as you're going to get coming on. Right. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But before we even go into that question, me and Alex thinks it's really important to do these little tidbits, these petty takeaways, right? These less petty takeaways. What is one thing that you would tell the audience, the people in the comments that have been listening, one petty takeaway, whether it's about imposter syndrome, whether it's about whatever, what would you, we didn't talk about the petty story, did we?
I don't think I told you. I don't know. Did I? No. Or no, I did or did I say, no, I just told you about my arrest story. He's like, she's kind of petty. I'm like, yes, I am.
So was that your petty story for the week?
I didn't tell my petty. No, that's not my petty story. I have a pettier story.
Oh, we got to hear that first before we get to the petty takeaways.
Like,
let's backtrack a little bit and tell me your petty story of the week. How do we miss that?
I think, okay, this is petty, but whatever. I had, like, last year I did like a Thanksgiving for this guy I was dating, and I made like Thanksgiving dinner or whatever at his house, and then we kind of had a little breakup or whatever, and we weren't talking. So I was like, I want all my seasonings back. Fuck out of here. I'm not gonna have no other bitch getting spiced up on my shit. So I went over there and he was like, told me, he's like, you being extra, and I got all my seasonings. I got all the leftover food and I left, and I was in the Uber and I was telling the Uber driver, like, I'm not gonna let no other bitch get spiced up on my shit.
So you went and took all your seasonings?
I brought, seasonings to make like a Thanksgiving dinner. And I brought all the stuff to cook, and he was tripping. And I was like, I'm not letting my butter and my seasoning stay over there. So I'm gonna get.
I hear that.
Bitch had a bag of butter and seasonings in the Uber ride on the way back, looking dumb.
Melting.
Look, and then it set in to me, like I told you earlier, it's not gonna matter in 5 minutes. So the 5 minutes are getting
in 5 minutes, she was like, damn.
I was the bag,
like real bad. That you took your damn salt and pepper.
I'm gonna let this nigga have his seasoning.
You've been doing something productive, bitch. Now you're in an Uber with melted butter and onion seasoning, looking crazy.
That's hilarious. Oh my God. Okay. I probably would have did the same back in my pettier days. But I've been married for so long now. I don't even, my petty ways is withholding vagina. That's my
You're like, I'm not.
That's my pettiness.
That is no bueno. Get it?
I know it's not
You
good.
hurt yourself.
I know it's not good. It's not good. But I'm just telling you what I do, okay? My husband be like, that ain't your petty ways. That's just your ways.
That's just you.
That's just who you are.
Oh my God.
But I've been eating sea moss.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, apparently it enhances your sexual energy. So we'll see.
It looks so gross.
Sea moss is good. And I've been getting it from this girl here. Her is Pink Moss Me on Instagram. She makes pink sea moss, and it has like beet juice in it, and it's actually not that bad as far as flavor. And you can take it right down if you swallow. You know what I'm saying? Like you can just.
I've been seeing people on TikTok and they be like trying not to throw up.
Yeah, no, you can just it'll slide right down your throat. Yep. It slid right down my throat. I don't know. I don't know if my dad is surprised you can still do
that, Kellye.
Huh?
Said I'm surprised you could still do that.
Oh Lord. I said I'm cool.
Because if you don't use it, you lose it. What are you saying, Alex? What are you saying?
Yes, you don't use it, you lose. I'm surprised you didn't gag. I'm gagging.
It looks disgusting.
Well, this one's pink. It actually doesn't look bad at all.
That sounds pretty dope.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
It might be good.
Okay, what is your petty takeaway for this conversation?
I love the conversation about the imposter syndrome. I learned the correct meaning. Now I can feel like, oh, I'm not the only person that feels like, should I have said that? So it was a good, relatable. So I like that the most. I'm going to take that away with me and be like, if I give advice now, I'm not going to be hard on myself.
What would you give to the audience, though? What would you tell the audience? Like, here's this petty takeaway for you.
Don't go to jail. I mean, that hurt my story.
Right.
That's it right there, y'all. That is it. Don't go to jail.
Real. Like, listen, I would tell people to take away, put your ego aside. It's not always important to say something, too.
Yes.
Sometimes people will try you and you don't necessarily got to be like, okay, you tried me. You could just be like, okay, bye. Because every time they played my tape in the courtroom, in my mind, I'd be like, that's when you should have left. But I would tap my lawyer like, I would have left then.
If I could do this over, can we do a retake? Because I would leave right here at this part.
I had one mimosa too many, and that's how that got there. But no, don't go to jail, and just like life will put you on your ass either way. If you haven't learned now, it's gonna find a way to teach you. So take my advice. Don't learn with a whole bunch of court bitch. Don't have to clean up Los Angeles.
I like that. And I like that you said that you don't always have to say something. That is so important. That you don't have to always say something. I don't know if I've talked about this before on this podcast, but that incident that I had in Evanston when I was getting my nails done, it's a stand-up joke now, but it was an incident. I was in Evanston. I was showing the nail tech pictures of me and my daughter. And, Faith is 21, right? And so she's older. We look just alike. And she's like, oh my God, you guys look just like twins. And there was a white lady right there. She asked, could she see the picture too? And I was like, sure. So I show her, and the nail tech is going on and on. Oh my God, you guys look just like twins. Oh my God. And then the white lady says, that's because she had her at 13.
Just don't understand why.
Yes. And so, but you say you don't always have to say something. Oh, wait. And Harvey Kelley.
Good. Or did you say something?
Harvey Kelley.
Yeah, because
that's tough.
That's tough.
That's
tough.
How
you be like, hold on, what?
That's tough. But I really knew my inner growth in that moment.
That's a huge one.
Yes, it was huge for me because I just looked and I smiled at her and I was like, okay.
Yeah, bitch.
And I left. I literally said nothing. I left. And I got in the car and I just took some deep breaths and I just kind of calmed myself and was like, I know that had I said something, it wouldn't have been productive. I wouldn't have had anything. I would have just reinforced her stereotype. Whatever thought she had in her head about me would have just been reinforced in this moment.
Clearly, she wasn't rap type. Because anybody that is a respectable woman would not scream something out like that. So
I think she just had black friends that excuse that behavior.
It's ridiculous. That's crazy as hell.
Yeah.
Go, oh, wow. Okay.
You don't even know me. Notice I said white woman because I didn't know her name. We didn't know her. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Alex, what is your petty takeaway?
Like, she's crazy. I do that a lot too. When people say weird or act weird, I'll be like, wow, she's crazy. Let me not be crazy too. I have to tell myself that sometimes. So I don't say nothing. I'll be like, ooh, no, I don't want to be crazy. Because you're going to get that in life. That, in her mind, that wasn't wrong.
Nothing was wrong with that.
That was regular to her.
That was crazy.
The point, in her mind. But
you definitely have said that. I remember being around you all the time where somebody would do something and you'll just be like, okay, that's weird. Yeah. And you say that. You're like, that's weird.
Like, wow.
That was weird.
Because, people say things. And if you always got something to say, you're going to be tired.
Right.
I learned that the hard way.
Plus, what are you saying? Is it going to add value? That is one of the biggest things. I have in my meditation space, I have this list of things and I say, I, Kelley, before it. And it kind of lists out I, Kelley, listen to understand. I, Kelley, trust myself. I, Kelley, add value to the lives of others. That's one of my vows, you know what I mean, of my own life, is that this is one of my principles, if you will. I add value to the lives of others. So if I'm living in a space that I'm not going to add value to you, then it's pointless for me to do. And I wouldn't have added value to that conversation with that woman.
No, because then she would have said something. It would have been no.
It really.
That's like you said. He didn't know you.
No need.
No need.
Yeah. That comment, I always say, when people have those reactions or act that way, it's about them. It's not about you. Whatever came out of her mouth is all about her and had nothing to do with you. But
absolutely,
that was growth because that was rough.
I was like, say what now, bitch?
I was so proud of myself. I was like, yes, bitch, you is getting there. Because you would have killed her had this been 3 years ago. It wouldn't have even been a conversation. As soon as she said third, I would have had her ass back.
Like, ah! They like, Kelley, put the brick down.
Put her down.
We just showed up.
All right, Alex, what is your petty takeaway?
I think, we're thinking about the topic for today, right? Imposter syndrome, doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud. How do we relate to ourselves? So how are you talking to yourself? And stopping yourself, intentionally stopping yourself when you're noticing that you're having like this negative self-talk. Even thinking about our last episode, right? Tiffany was sharing like all the positive affirmation before she leaves her home. Kellye, you were just sharing your vows, right? The way you relate to yourself is so important. It's going to show up in your work. It's going to show up at the nail salon, how you relate to others just randomly. Like it just comes up. So, when we're having those moments when we're doubting ourselves, like talk yourself up, give yourself on, tap on the back. But you got to be intentional about it for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like that. Affirmations are key. Like I love affirmations so much. They're so important. Like you said this, Alex, in our preliminary call, that most of the human thoughts are negative.
Right.
Naturally. Like that's just, even if you was raised in the best conditions with the best parents in the most loving scenario, most of our natural human thoughts are negative.
There's quotes out there to say, hope for the best, expect the worst.
Right.
Most people live their lives on that as a daily basis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so
in restaurants, you only hear the worst experience before you hear anybody ever write, I had the best experience.
Exactly.
Yep. And that's so funny too, because I'd be going to all these different places. And I'm like, oh, that was a great place. Oh, this was amazing. Oh, I love this place. And you just keep it moving. But the moment I go somewhere that pissed me off, I'm on Yelp. Like,
turn it up. Yeah.
Could not tell me. And I want to get this off my chest. Yeah. I want to let y'all know.
Nobody says,
that is it. Well, my petty takeaway, I'm going to say, is silence is golden.
Yes, I like that.
Silence is golden, both on stage and off. And you said, Alex, that in that thing with the other professor, or I mean, not the professor, but the other doctor, that you weren't allowed to ask questions. But that's actually very interesting.
It taught me so much. It was the best. Like, I love that professor, and it was hard as heck, but it was so useful, and it's so useful in my personal life and my work with people.
That's so, because I found myself, and one of my takeaways was going to be like, listen to understand, and if you don't understand, ask questions.
Right.
But now I'm rethinking the asking questions.
It's interesting though, like if you think about people, like, what is your why? Like sometimes people are asking you questions because they're nosy as hell. They don't really care about you. They just want to know about your life, which is fine. I always, you can tell when people are like that. I think when people are asking questions, you can feel that genuine energy of like, okay, this person like really wants to get to know me.
Yeah.
So it depends. And in my work, it's like, why do I want to ask that question about that breakup? Is it because I'm just like, I want to know? Or is it going to be helpful in this moment?
Yeah.
So I catch myself all the time like, no, I don't need to like fill a session with questions on what happened. And then that, like, no.
Yeah.
Let the patient move the session on their own.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So those are my takeaways. Silence is golden, and listen to understand. Listen to understand. That's huge. I think, for me, even listening to myself to understand.
Yes.
Right. What am I really saying? And are these thoughts that I'm having? And Sweetie said, stop the negative, dirty self-talk. Like even that, right? The thoughts that I'm having, are these my thoughts, or are this residual habitual thoughts?
Yeah.
That I'm just recycling.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so those are my takeaways. And I'm hoping that people in the chat got something from those takeaways. This was a very insightful conversation for me, because I've been trying to deal with my imposter syndrome. It comes up in times where I'm like, am I valid enough? But I mean, I am. Like, the reality is that I am valid enough in all that I do, because I've been doing this shit long enough to do it. My life experiences led me there. So, all right, we're going to do these questions now.
All right.
That I have to switch to the beginning of the show. I just feel like we need to be at the beginning.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to ask some questions to you, Fatimah and Alex. Do you have questions, Alex?
I didn't have questions. I just have words.
Oh, words. Okay, I'm going to let you do your words first before I do mine. So Words is she'll say a word and you'll tell her the first thing that
came to my mind. Or...
that comes to your mind with that word. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Code switching.
Fake ass bitches.
I'm a fake ass bitch then, because I be code switching myself on the conversation. Girl, don't let me be coming for us. I'm like, excuse me?
I was like, that's the first thing. I was like,
I love it. Fake ass bitch. I'm getting that tatted. Fake ass bitch.
Fake ass bitches.
Okay. Generational trauma.
Real.
Sadness.
Self-compassion.
Happiness.
Kellye, what's yours?
Oh, self-compassion?
Yeah.
Needed.
And then triggered.
I'll fuck you up.
Right. I saw a windmill in my mind. Immediately, I didn't have no words.
That wasn't one word. Okay.
Okay, I'm done. That's all I had. That's all my words.
All right. All right. Here's my rapid fire. Fatimah, black or white?
Black.
Hennessy or gin?
Neither.
Backwoods or raw?
Raw.
Alex, Jamaica or Peru?
Jamaica.
A wild and crazy night of sex or a chill movie night?
The first one. Hello.
I was gonna be like, a chill movie night could turn into wild sex too.
Right. You're right.
Fatimah, how important is forgiveness for you?
Ooh, that's a good question. It depends. Forgiveness to self is more important than forgiveness to others to me.
Oh, okay. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Alex, tap or jazz?
Jazz.
I already know this. Well, maybe I don't know this answer for Fatimah, actually. Marijuana or wine?
Marijuana.
Okay, I thought she was going to be like both. Every time I come over there, she has some wine.
Girl, I didn't get old. A bitch can't drink really now. I'll be like, I'm like, water? I can just smoke.
Gotta hydrate. That's important.
Now this, I guess you kind of answered this in the see, that's why I got to ask these questions at the top, because you did kind of answer this in the conversation already. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to fist fight another? 1. say I'm dealing with that in court.
Has changed her ways.
I'm like, 2018 me or me now?
1 being I don't fight. 10 being, if they sleep with my man, bitches got to be bopped.
I'm gonna go ahead and go with 10 still. Although now I will think about it. If that for me now, if I be triggered, I'm about to be like, okay, is this a good idea before I beat your ass?
Is this worth it?
Exactly. I'm gonna keep it gangster. I'm gonna go with 10. I'm definitely them hands. I'm more controlled now though.
I don't even want to. Alex, would you?
No.
She's like 1.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. I grew up in Humboldt Park back in the day, but I have way too much to lose. And
yeah,
literally the first being my career. You cannot be a therapist putting your hands on someone.
That's
like
true.
Absolutely not. That goes out the window. Now, if it's a safety thing, like I'm at like my physical well-being, like to protect myself, absolutely. But no one is gonna get me out of my body. I've come way too long for that.
I hear that.
Yeah.
There's no way.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Being sued is not cute.
No.
All right. And this is the final one. This is the final one. And I'm asking this for both of you all. If you could give up, oh shit, something happened to my computer. This has got weird.
It's just your luck. Why are you messing up more computer?
Everything just went away. Like I was like, what happened? Nobody's here anymore.
Mike, you messed up your computer.
Okay. If you could give up everything, if you could give up everything you are and have become to change this one thing in the past, what would that be? And if there's nothing, what's your life mantra for accepting and moving on from the past?
Wait, like history or my own past?
No, like if you could give up everything you are and have become to change this one thing in your past.
Okay.
What I mean, obviously slavery. Like we'd be like, fuck me.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, in the world? Or, okay.
Right.
Absolutely. But no.
Personal. Okay. I'm going to say I don't want to change anything in my past at all. I feel like I've changed that thought now because I realize that's the person that I am today is because of my past, whether it's good or bad. It builds character. It's why I can tell the stories the way that I am. I wouldn't change a doggone thing. So my life mantra is understanding that life happens and you have to keep moving forward. Like I literally don't hold on to anything anymore. Like I literally feel like it just drags you down. Like you just take, especially if it's negative, just take it as a life experience and learn. There's always a lesson in something, even if it's in the seasons. You're gonna learn something. Even if you in the Uber on the way back with the seasons in the bag, there's a lesson. So
the lesson in the butter.
Don't hold on to anything from the past. You just keep moving forward and making more memories of history on your own. So no.
Absolutely, because holding on to the butter will melt.
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be in the car with a melted bag. It's looking dumb.
Alex?
I wouldn't change anything either. I agree. I think who I am today is a testament to my upbringing, where I grew up, how I grew up, even if it wasn't perfect. I mean, do I wish I had more time with like family members that are no longer here? Like, yeah, but that's a part of it. Has made me who I am too. So I don't think I would change that. And yeah, I think holding on to things, we didn't talk about that enough. It only hurts you. I work with so many people that hold on to like grief or resentment or whatever it is. And honestly, at the end of the day, I know it's easier said than done, but it literally only hurts you. Only hurts you. Physically, you're going to age, right? And not look youthful like you want to look, but also like internally, it just like eats away at you. So can never can never tell you like to forgive someone else, but to let it go for yourself is so important.
Yeah, who was that? Ty? Who was that on the show that we had that said it's like holding on to hot coals and thinking that you yourself won't be burnt?
Yeah.
Didn't somebody say that on the show? I don't know.
I remember.
Or it might have been a book I read. I don't fucking know. I agree with both of you all. I often think about like what would have happened because my grandma primarily raised me up until age 10 when she got cancer and passed away, which is when I moved from Harvey. And I moved with my mom. And I often think about like what would my life be if my grandmother was still living?
Right.
But I definitely will be a different person. I told my husband, I said, I definitely probably would have had more kids. I wouldn't have been at the level of kids that I had. I probably would have had much more, like just the environment I was brought up in. If I stayed in Harvey, I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, sure.
Me and Fatimah probably wouldn't be cool right now. Like I don't.
It was time. It was a time, wasn't it?
It was. Harvey was something else. And I don't think it's anything.
When people ask me, they go, they immediately, oh, you're from Chicago. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, but I grew up in the South suburbs. So I don't want to be like, oh, Chicago, because people can talk to you that. The moment that I say Harvey, Illinois, everyone was like, damn. People always be like, wow, okay. So
that's hilarious.
Like, Harvey is like, you can say you're from the suburbs, but when you say Harvey, Illinois, people immediately are like, wow, that's
Harvey's not considered a suburb. They don't consider that. When you say I'm from the suburbs and they say which one, you be like Harvey, they be like, oh, that ain't the suburbs. That ain't the suburbs.
Exactly. It was edgy. It was
I don't think it's anything wrong with elevating oneself. And if that means moving out of your current environment in order to free your mind and be able to elevate, I don't think there is anything wrong with
Not
that.
At all.
Period.
Not at all.
And that's my last petty thought.
Okay.
If you got to go,
ain't nothing wrong. No.
You got to go. Thank you so much, Fatimah, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Like, This was a lot of fun. I am so excited for your album that's coming out September 21st. Like, I'm not even, and I'm so happy that I'm at this place in my life where I'm not even hating on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm excited, genuinely. Because I've been doing comedy 15 years, like, and I don't have out an album or anything. Like, you would think I would, you know, but I'm excited for it.
Thank you. This was so hard. Probably the hardest thing I've ever done. Like I said, if I ever do it again, I'm calling in help. But it was hard, and I'm proud of myself that I did it. I had reached a momentum in my career in 2020 that I thought was my own level of success. And I was like, if I want to continue this, I have to fight for it for myself. So I did it by myself. I invested it all in myself. And no, I had no intentions of thinking that Comedy Dynamics was going to take it. I shopped it to everybody. And people was like, no. And people was like, no. People was like, no. I think literally they were in my last meeting, and I'm so grateful for it because
awesome.
As a Black woman in comedy, they need to know more about all of us that are out here. I'm so sick of people being like, oh, there's not enough Black people. I mean, naming names. They're like, oh, yeah. Like,
yeah, we don't get no credit. It's ridiculous.
No credit.
No credit.
And I thank you guys so much for having me on it because I'm trying to promote the shit out of that.
So it's a lot. It's a performance or an album, like listening.
I have both. I have a live performance that will be on Apple TV, Spectrum, Comcast, Amazon.
Yes.
Microsoft, all the little streaming platforms, Peacock. It'll be on all those, and then the album doesn't come out until the 24th. And that's on Sirius XM, Spotify, Pandora, all those places.
Nice.
I know that's right. Talk about them dollars you finna get off them.
Awesome.
Honestly, it's not even about the money. I did it predominantly for people to hear my voice, to get to know that I exist. There's a lot of amazing female comedians out there, but I don't feel like people know enough about Fatimah Taliah. And this story is literally that. Nice to Meet Me was named basically because during quarantine, I collected all my past baggage and we had a whole ass conversation to move and where that shit's gonna go. So this story is literally Nice to Meet Me. So we are all about the arrest and everything else. So
that is so beautiful. I'm really, really excited. I can't wait for it to come out. Is that your Instagram handle? Because I see it's your Cash App handle. Like we paying. Right? I'm like LA people quick to throw their Cash App out there. Like, give me money. I need money.
We be out here poor, bitch. You know what? I don't know what I've done on here, but I was like, how does it already have my Cash App? It's just at Fatimah Taliah. If you guys just want to add to that, it's on everything. That'll be where all my information for the album, the visual, all my sketches, anything I'm doing is at Fatimah Taliah.
Nice.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Y'all give her claps and snaps in the comments for being here with us. I'm going to take you out of the chat. Thank you so much. You can stay backstage, though. You don't have to log out just yet.
Okay.
Alex, this was fun.
This was fun.
Yeah.
This is great.
The audience was a little quiet tonight, but that's all right. It was a good conversation. So we are back. I'm going to read the ending notes because the bitch be writing her shit out now. I'm proud of myself. Like, I used to be going off the top of my head and then I'd be forgetting too much stuff. So, all right. Thank you all for joining us tonight on Be Less Petty Live Comedy Self-Help Podcast, where we laugh, learn, and grow. You will definitely want to tune in the next show, which is August 30th. We will have Ida Rodriguez from Tiffany Haddish's She Ready Netflix series and Young Turks. We'll be discussing community, marginalization, and policies in relations to mental health, wellness, and disease. So you don't want to miss that. August 30th, right here, live at 6 p.m. Let's give 1,000 claps in the chat for our dedicated producer that was backstage with us, Lisa Beasley. We also have Wendy Mateo that comes on as one of our producers. So give her 1,000 claps and 1,000,000 claps for yourself in the chat room. And we will see you here in 2 weeks. Also, we just got 3 shows left, and that last one is live. Those tickets are going to go on sale September 1st. So you'll want to be tuned in so that you can get your tickets too. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.